We talked about at the end of last week the way that Republicans' motivation to attack President Biden and thus his Department of Justice and Merrick Garland, it's getting so whacked and so out of hand that they're setting themselves up to be humiliated, where in this case, Ted Cruz is obviously contradicting, like we talked about with Marshall Blackburn, a past statement he's made on the subject that we're going to break down here. So because it's a new week and some of you may have missed my coverage at the end of last week, let me give you the context necessary to understand what Ted Cruz is responding to here. David Weiss, U.S. attorney in Delaware, he was appointed by Donald Trump, and he's been overseeing a case into the son of President Biden, Hunter Biden. What we know it has to do with could be other things. What we know, though, based on a plea deal that was almost reached and then fell apart, is that it has to do with a firearm-related charge, Hunter Biden lying on a federal form saying he wasn't addicted to a controlled substance when he was to get that firearm, and also tax evasion, 2 years. And so it seemed like a plea deal was going to be reached, and then, like I said, it fell apart, and so that's where things stand now. And based on the fact that that happened, and other things we're not necessarily aware of, and maybe David Weiss's ambition to now bring charges in other jurisdictions because the plea deal didn't go through, David Weiss requested from Attorney General Merrick Garland special counsel status, which gives that extra level of authority where now you can bring charges in other jurisdictions as one of the notable changes to his authority there. And so to backtrack a little bit, Republicans previously, to portray the Department of Justice as being an example of a two-tier justice system and corrupt and horrible, we're saying, we watched the IRS whistleblowers, or we covered it, we're saying that David Weiss probably wanted to have special counsel status earlier on, but Merrick Garland was interfering with that to protect Hunter Biden and was not allowing him to have special counsel status. And David Weiss wrote to Republicans saying, no, I just am not requesting it right now. If I needed it, I'm sure I could get it, but I don't need it right now. And now we're seeing, again, David Weiss always refuted that characterization from Republicans. But now he, because of the situation changing, does want special counsel status. He requested it. Merrick Garland immediately gave it to him, just like we were saying previously. And so, because now David Weiss is portraying a very real example of not all the different things that Republicans were saying was going on in the Department of Justice, instead, exactly what Merrick Garland said was the case, he wasn't interfering, and David Weiss said was the case, Merrick Garland not interfering, is the case as is playing out now, the narrative has to shift. And Ted Cruz is representing that during a recent interview over the weekend, where now the narrative is, yeah, this is another example of the corruption because David Weiss is in on the corruption. And so, of course, they're going to give him the special counsel status instead of somebody else so that he can act as a special counsel to protect Hunter Biden. Even though previously, as we'll get to with Ted Cruz after this clip, people like Ted Cruz were saying David Weiss should get special counsel status. I know, a lot of random details, but important to understand as we watch this.
Your reaction to David Weiss being named as special counsel here?
Well, this appointment is camouflage and it's cover-up. I think it's disgraceful. Listen, David Weiss was the U.S. attorney handpicked to lead this investigation, who spent the last 5 years covering it up. David Weiss, who was personally selected by the two Democrat senators from Delaware, Tom Carper and Chris Coons, for 5 years.
And who was he appointed by? Remind me? Donald Trump.
Investigation has gone nowhere other than to protect Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. Not only that, David Weiss is the one that is subject to 2 whistleblower complaints from senior career IRS officials who came forward. They said they'd never seen an investigation like this in their entire time.
And they said what pushed them over the edge was believing David Weiss couldn't get special counsel status, wasn't being given the resources and authority he needed by Merrick Garland. And now, after requesting it, immediately Merrick Garland gave it to him. David Weiss the entire time said that was the case, which made this IRS whistleblower hearing seem unserious. But now we're seeing it play out in real time. It's incredible, the dishonesty. And now, to make that point even more clearly, here is a letter that Ted Cruz was one of the individuals signing that says, "Dear Attorney General Garland, we, the undersigned, write to request that United States Attorney David C. Weiss be extended special counsel protections and authorities to conduct the Hunter Biden investigation." Ted Cruz, U.S. Senator, signed. And now he's being given special counsel status, the extra protections and authorities as they requested, and they're angry. Because when you've based your entire political set of actions, your entire duty over the last however long, 8 months at least since Republicans had the majority in the House of Representatives, on going after President Biden and proving that there's this two-tier justice system, they feel like they're too far now. So even if the facts directly contradict the story they've been telling, they'll keep telling that story. Because it's not about honesty, we know that. It's about political advantage. The thing to me, though, that doesn't make sense is now that it's so clear, again, look at this. We can watch a clip of Ted Cruz saying, this is despicable. This is horrible. And then read a letter where he's saying, can you do the thing that later I'll call despicable and horrible? Or whatever his particular language was. I don't think it was despicable. He said disgraceful. That's what it was. Disgraceful. And then we can see, again, he's just contradicting himself. It's so dishonest. And how does that not hurt you politically? It should in a reasonable world, right? But it doesn't, I guess, in this one, because we're not in a reasonable world. That could be the thesis of my entire show. This world is not reasonable. And unfortunately, that's what I have to cover every single day. Make sure, if you want to support me having to cover that very unreasonable world, subscribe to the channel. Absolutely so beneficial. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are able to be uploaded to the YouTube channel, plus get the bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership, and there's a link in the description.